Hey friends, welcome to the All Means All podcast. Today we have a special feature because Pastor Todd Mills is preaching today. Todd joined our staff just over a year ago, moving here from Columbus, Ohio. He and I had journeyed together around United Seminary and known each other a bit in the past. So welcome to Seven Deadly Sins as Todd preaches on anger.
Pastor Irene caught me this morning and said, "You look like you're awful chipper for someone who's going to preach about anger this morning." It was around 2005, and I was pastoring a church in Northwest Ohio. It was after church on a Sunday. We headed next door to the county seat with our two children. Our daughter Mariah, who was in third grade at the time, that is actually a picture from the church at that time that we served. Our son Alex was in first grade at the time, and our oldest, we had gone over. We were at a Taco Bell. We were going to go shopping afterwards. She'd snuck off to the bathroom, and if you know how Taco Bells work, the bathrooms are right next to the front door. And as she came out, there was an older couple who were struggling a little bit with the door. So she was a sweetheart, being the sweetheart that little third grade girls are, and she held the door open, and then in came this big group, right? There were two adults and like a dozen kids of various ages. And so she stood there and held the door. And I watched as each one of them walked by and did not acknowledge her. And Dad was like, oh, no, right? I was like, and she came over after they were through, and my wife said, "Oh, honey, that was so sweet of you." And I was like, yes, it was so sweet of you that no one said anything to you, And my wife, of course, is like, "Honey, it's okay." And I whispered some sweet nothings under my breath. At that point, our youngest, Alex, who again was first grade at the time, who was eating his lunch of soft tacos, and he had his box. He's reading the box. He doesn't even look up. He says, "Well, Dad, it's kind of like your message this morning when you said, when you do random acts of kindness, you shouldn't expect anything in return." Oh, man. Yeah, I got caught, didn't I? Thomas Aquinas declared, "Anger is the name of a passion. A passion of the sensitive appetite is good insofar as it is regulated by reason, whereas it is evil if it set the order of reason aside. If anger is desire for vengeance insofar as it is really just, then anger will be good and virtuous and is called zealous anger. But if it is a desire for vengeance that appears just but is not really just, then the anger is a sin." We find Jesus this morning in Jerusalem, and you probably remember these words in this story from Mark 11, verses 15 to 17, and I'll just read them this morning. "On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise into the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, 'Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations? But you have made it a den of robbers.'" This isn't quite the Jesus that we're used to reading about, as Jesus is sharing about the Beatitudes and the loving stories and healing people. Jesus got angry as well, and in this moment in God's house said, "No, this is not appropriate." In this case of Jesus, it is righteous anger. The passion of anger is a response to something that we deem to be wrong. It reflects a judgment about the way things should be. This judgment is a movement of the will. When our reasons and our passions are rightly ordered, and we recognize injustice for what it is, and we feel angry about it. Aquinas further explains an instance where a person sees injustice but does not feel anger. The lack of anger is a sign that the judgment of reason is lacking. Anger is always present in our lives. By us or someone else, we share and receive this passion-filled emotion every day. It's become a social norm in our world. But oftentimes it's shared and received, it's experienced in unhealthy and destructive ways. Each one of us carries with us a certain amount of anger towards others, anger towards issues, anger towards situations, things that most of the time we have no control over. But how we respond, that is what will help us maneuver and manage anger in healthy ways. Mark Twain said, "Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than anything on which it is poured." Growing up, I remember learning about what to do in case I happened to catch on fire. Do you remember the saying? Do you remember? It's stop. Come on, you can do better. I want to make sure you don't catch on fire. Come on, stop. Great job. Ooh, I even heard a little one in the back. Good for you. That's right. When thinking about the passion of anger, think about how easily it burns in us. When we become overwhelmed and we feel like we're literally on fire, we're so mad. When thinking about this passion and how easily it burns out of controls, I'm going to make a suggestion. When we feel overwhelmed, I want you to stop. I want you to breathe, and I want you to pray. I know it sounds simple, right? It sounds simple. Stop, breathe, and pray. But we're going to put it into action. We're going to use the chorus of the song, Spirit of the Living God. You can drop in anything else. The whole idea is to literally stop in the moment, to take time to breathe, and then to pray. Now, I want you to take your left hand, let me see them, and I want you to put it on your left leg. What we know about our fight and flight response is that when we get angry and we feel confronted, we want to both physically and verbally lash out. So doing this in those times that we feel overwhelmed, we're putting it on our leg as a reminder to stop. It's a reminder that God is holding us in this moment and we need to breathe. And I want you to take your right hand and put it on your heart. Because what we know is physiologically there is something about beating hearts and patting on it. In fact, if we remember or still know with little children, when they're crying and we place them against our chest, that gives them, reassurance. So what we're going to do is we're going to just speak it. We're going to slowly. So left hand on your left leg, and I want you to feel, whenever you feel appropriate, to pat your chest. So we're going to do this together, okay? Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. This is essentially saying, God, surround and sustain me with your Holy Spirit. Take my anger, take my pain, take my hurt, that I might be a vessel for your glory. So much of our experience of overwhelming anger is when we're unsure of what's going on. The truth is that depending on the issue, the person, the situation, let me give you an idea. Let's say that you get a text or a phone call or an email from one of those people in your life, or it's a situation that is something very difficult, a social issue or whatever that's hard for you to digest. And in that moment, you're already here because of your experience. and then you go from 50 to 100 in a snap, and you're overwhelmed and out of control. We already have preconceived ideas about what's going to happen. Our response to the situation is based on experience with other people, and we just become overwhelmed in a minute, and everything becomes out of control. I actually think this video clip might sum it up a little bit better.
Here we go. All right, open.
This looks new.
Think it's safe?
What is it?
Okay, caution. There is a dangerous smell, people. Hold on, what is that?
This is disgust. She basically keeps Riley from being poisoned, physically and socially.
That is not brightly colored or shaped like a dinosaur. Hold on, guys. It's broccoli! Yeah! Well, I just saved our lives. Yeah, you're welcome.
Riley, if you don't eat your dinner, you're not going to get any dessert.
Wait, did he just say we couldn't have dessert?
That's anger. He cares very deeply about things being fair.
So that's how you want to play it, old man? No dessert? Oh, sure. We'll eat our dinner right after you eat this.
Right. Here comes an airplane.
Oh, airplane. We got an airplane, everybody.
Airplanes work great with kids. They don't work too great with adults, do they? But we've all been there, right? In that minute, we're not sure what's going on, and we blast. James 1:19 and 20 says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires." My friends, we are humans and we are flawed creatures. There will be times when we are mistreated in this life by others. And while it's a natural reaction to be angered, we must stay vigilant so that we don't become a slave to this emotion, and instead respond in a rational manner as God commands. And maybe we take a snippet of the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Let's try it again. Left hand on your left leg, right hand on your heart. And we're going to do this again. We're just going to speak it, okay? Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Psychologists see anger as an emotion characterized by antagonism towards something or someone, where we feel that something wrong has been done. But anger can also be a good thing. Anger can give us a way to express negative feelings. I mean, think about it. When great things in our world have come to pass, when resolutions have been made, when bad social things in the world where we've fought for health care and for civil rights, people with anger got together and constructively came to the table and said, no more. And in those places, it's safe and it's healthy. I love this quote from Aristotle. Anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person to the right degree and at the right time and for the right reason and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power, and it's not easy. The heavenly attribute that is opposite of anger is patience. But I knew I wasn't going to say, let's pray for patience, y'all, because it doesn't work. What we have to do is we have to be patient, become patient, and pray in these moments. Pause, breathe, and pray. Years ago, I ran across this book called The Holy Longing, and Ronald Rolheiser says, to pray, I think, does not mean to think about God in contrast to thinking about other things. or to spend time with God instead of spending time with others. Rather, it means to think and live in the presence of God. All our actions must have their origin in prayer. Praying is not an isolated activity. It takes place in the midst of all the things and affairs that keep us active. In prayer, a self-centered monologue becomes a God-centered monologue. By focusing on a prayer-breathed life, we in essence can slow down and even stave off anger. In that way, our walk with God can become closer. God's presence is more defined. Our awareness of God is more real, and the living God in and among us stands out because we see it in the people in front of us. Ephesians 4 should bring us great clarity when it comes to this. Verses 25 through 28. And I want us to read this together. Therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to his neighbor. For we are all members of one body. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. He who has been must steal no longer, but must work, doing something useful with his own hands, that we may have something to share with those in need. A few action steps for us as we close today. Think before you speak. How many times in our lives have we said those words and gone, I wish I could pull them back? Relationships that we have ended or maimed, or ones that have been hurt on the other side towards us. Think before you speak. Most of the time when we hurt those around us, we hurt those closest to us because of that anger that's from everywhere else. And in those moments when we're out of control, stop, pause, breathe, and pray. Then speak and respond. Take the time to identify possible solutions to curb your anger. We all have those buttons for us. If it's social media, if it's watching the news, listening to the radio, whatever it is, what are those things that set you off in a moment, and how can you curb them so that you're not overwhelmed? Because in those moments are when we make poor decisions, when we become overwhelmed. Know when you need to seek help to feel overwhelmed. Pastor Dwayne says it every week. If you need help, just ask. We need to be comfortable in our world today to seek out the support of a small group, a support group, classes, a counselor, whatever it might be. Find help. I love this quote from the Buddha, who said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. We are the only one who ends up getting burnt. Practice relaxation skills. Take time to breathe regularly. Do yoga, meditate, listen to music, do centering prayer. These are all ways to distress and declutter our mind and help us refocus. Because if we stop and think about it, our lives are truly blessed. Our lives are incredibly blessed compared to most of the world. It doesn't mean that we don't go through difficult days and difficult times and difficult diagnoses, but it does mean that our lives are beautifully enriched, and we need to be ever present of that so we don't lose track. Find a place to serve and give of your time. Give of your heart and give of your love. Because if you do that, if you find something that's that meaningful for you, what you're going to do is surround yourself with other people who have that same passion. I know there's still room up here if you want to be in the choir. Great job today. There's so many places that are in need in our church, and we also know that we're overwhelmed. We're looking ahead at small groups and new Bible studies, and our children's ministry is expanding, our youth ministry is expanding, and we need help. And if you want to lean in, don't be overwhelmed by it. Step forward. Don't be afraid. Take moments every day to pause, to breathe, and to pray. Let's do it one more time. So, it's almost like take your left hand in, put your left hand out. Okay, all right. So put left hand on your left leg, right hand on your heart, and let's do this one more time. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me.
Thanks for listening to the All Means All podcast. If you don't have a church home, or if you're in the Boise Valley, the Treasure Valley, we would love to be your church home, and I'd love to be your pastor. Come and join us in person if you're able, anytime you're in the Boise area. I do want to challenge you around mission this month. If you think about it, wherever you are in the country, wherever you are in the world, will you serve your local food pantry? Will you make sure that you show up either in giving or in service and help out and feed those that are in need of food? That can be as simple as maybe going on Amazon and sending some things. It may be spending your time. It may be making a donation. Here in Boise, we are always in need of cereal at the Amity Food Pantry, canned goods, canned meats. You can drop them off at either campus. You can send them in. But if you're somewhere else in the country, there's a food pantry near you. Serve them.